Hello there, viewers, and welcome to episode 30 of F1 Talk. And in this edition, I will be going over the recent news, extremely recent news, of the past few days since the last Grand Prix, and of course my predictions for the upcoming Hungarian Grand Prix that is due to take place this weekend. So, as you'd expect, this isn't going to be the longest edition of F1 Talk because there's only been a few days since the last race, but there is a small amount of news and some pretty big news in terms of the competition. So I'll kick it off with some less important news. That one of the top shareholders of the Williams team, his name is Toto Wolff, has now become executive director. It gives him more control in the team. He's obviously well placed in terms of the sponsorship and all sorts of things like that. And all I have to say now is that this Toto Wolff will be, he'll have more say in the day-to-day running of the team. I don't know a heck of a lot about him. I don't need to know a heck of a lot about him. He is just a bigwig now who is now higher up in the team. He has more say, so I'll just leave it at that. The big news, the extremely big news that arose from the German Grand Prix was that the Red Bull team had been using a certain engine settings map that enabled the drivers to not spin the wheels so much. So, in other words, they weren't locking up as much as they could have been, or should have been, so to speak. The rule changes brought in 2009 took away the traction control and things like that, and it added more chance for the drivers to lock up entering a corner, because let's face it, these cars go incredible speeds around corners, and they're pushing themselves to the very limit. This engine map setting stopped that from happening to the Red Bulls. Now, they've had a couple of successful Grand Prix in terms of the fact that they haven't lost a heck of a lot of places. Webber won the British Grand Prix with these engine settings in. Apparently, they've had these engine settings in all season. And, it was brought up at the start of the last Grand Prix at Hockenheim. Now, these settings have been declared illegal, and these settings now are obviously outlawed. Now they revert to settings that they would have used, prior to this season, or prior to whenever it is they brought them in. But Sebastian Vettel has actually gone on record and said that, it's all relative terms. We're going to be just as good without these settings. There's no worries. And speaking of Sebastian Vettel, he and Lewis Hamilton have been in a sort of war of words, so to speak, considering their altercation of sorts at Hockenheim. Hamilton was a lap down. He passed Vettel, as I said in my previous video, and made sure that he unlapped himself from Vettel. I didn't actually see him unlap himself from Alonso. That could be another matter, but there seems to be a bit of an edge between the two of them. So it's a little bit of sour grapes, I think, from Vettel. The McLaren at that time in the race was the faster car. It was on the fresher tyres. And it just seems to me that Vettel was only complaining because of the fact he might have won the race had Hamilton not passed him. But Hamilton passed him, Alonso won the race, as you know, and, it's all if. And if's F1 spelt backwards. So there's not a heck of a lot of other news. I'll just point you to the fact that the McLarens are they're definitely improving. As I speak, first practice or second practice is finished at the Hungarian Ring, and the McLarens are 1 and 2. and then it's Alonso in practice. So that's more or less as up-to-the-date news as I can give you. I can't really give you any more news, apart from the fact that the McLarens they're back on the pace. Both of them are looking forward to the weekend, so we'll just have to see what develops. That being said, however, we are heading to, we're heading to the Hungaroring, quite a topsy-turvy track. This sort of track does indeed favour the Red Bulls, but the McLarens look good. They've looked good since these upgrades have gone on. Button's a lot happier with the car. Hamilton seems to be, getting the confidence back in the car. So that being said, for the predictions, because as I say, there wasn't a lot of news, so my predictions for this race weekend, I will say Hamilton pole and Hamilton win. It's looking like a McLaren weekend. Is it a case of damage limitation for Alonso and the other drivers? Is it a case of, McLaren dominance for a couple of races? I know for a fact that usually after the Hungarian Grand Prix, we usually get the sort of half-term break, the summer break. I know this is round 11 of the championship, but once this round's over, obviously I'll give you my reviews, thoughts, and so on in the next edition of F1 Talk. But in the episode after that, sometime later this week or early next week, I will be doing my half-season review, and you can hear my thoughts on what's been going on in the season so far. And that's basically it for this edition. I thank you for watching as you always do. Any comments or thoughts or suggestions, with the big news about Red Bull's engine settings, the mere fact that McLarens are back on the pace, and your thoughts on the upcoming race. So I thank you for watching, and I'll see you for more F1 Talk sometime next week.